Welcome, Spiritual Mag. Update for July 1st, 2022. Do you trust the people running your government? I mean, really in your heart. What does your gut tell you? Our off-planet brothers and sisters sure don't trust them. Let's examine this. If they don't trust them, they're not going to work with them. Why would an off-planet being that comes and shuts off nuclear weapons, stopping governments from fighting each other, why would they come down and try to work with the same governments? It's like, elevate the consciousness is the only way to make it happen. The consciousness that created the problem is not going to have the consciousness to fix the problem. So they're going to work with civilians. It means you and me. That's what it really means, inside us. We have to go within, learn compassion and patience for one another, and move towards community. There's a lot of things in our future that are going to make it more challenging. Now think about it. Sleepy Joe just spent 40 billion borrowed dollars and gave it to the Nazis in Ukraine for military hardware. The bill to fix every bridge and highway and road in the entire United States is 41 billion. So instead of fixing the roads and highways here at home that are necessary, that are crumbling, that amount of money was just borrowed and given to Nazis in Ukraine. Think about that. Do you think that's going to make things better? I don't think so. You're going to trust these people? I don't think so. Do you think our off-planet brothers and sisters, people of higher dimensions, elevated consciousness, are going to trust the same people that are bombing people? No, they're not. They're going to only work with civilians, people with love in their heart. It's not complicated. Do you think off-planet beings would come and strongly suggest that the definition of a vaccine gets changed so that you can get something that's not really a vaccine, but now it's called a vaccine? So everyone's thinking something and they're hearing something, but it's not what they're thinking or hearing. It's something different. Do you think off-planet beings would do that? I don't think so. Off-planet beings travel through time and space. They don't use diesel. They don't use gasoline. So the technologies that are available that are not being used, those technologies are causing gasoline and diesel and natural earth reserves to be used to destroy the environment of the surface of the planet and the water in the planet. Do you think off-planet beings would do that? No, they don't. They're here to help with that. Mother Earth is a very important component of this galaxy. The water is a big deal. Of course, water has memory. So the question is, leader of the free world is an older gentleman, Joseph Biden. The next person in line is Kamala Harris. Is she the solution? No. Are you a part of the solution? Yes. It's a really, really big deal. And we're kind of not in Washington, D.C. We're kind of like, out there in the fields. Which brings me to a little example. World War II, 1942. My father, Joseph Bell, born and raised in Shanghai, China, British and Chinese-Russian parents, grandpa and grandma, was OSS jump instructor, Office of Strategic Services. CIA came from them after the end of the war. Well, in 42, my dad, along with a small number, parachuted behind Japanese lines in Burma. Very risky, and tried to rescue downed pilots and work with up to 3,000 Kachin warriors that were trained eventually, and it was eventually dismantled, I think, in 45. So that was behind the lines. It's kind of what we're doing, what I'm doing, what my producer's doing, what my cameraman's doing. We're behind the line trying to elevate consciousness, not injure people, not to create disharmony, but instead to create harmony. And I learned that from my old man, which is pretty cool. So a second person that is a process in this is my uncle, Frank McGee, NBC News. He was host of the Today Show. He was with General Eisenhower through most of World War II, alongside as a reporter for Stars and Stripes. Also, he was the host of the Today Show, and he reported from Dallas the day President Kennedy was murdered. I met with him when I went to Moscow in '67 and registered for the U.S. draft when I was 18 years old as a protest. And I met with my Uncle Frank, and he discussed with me his experiences in World War II, how media and communication is used to deceive and mislead and misdirect and omit and leave people with certain thought forms which might not be accurate, but might be well substantiated by other inaccurate information. Electronically, big deal, a really big deal. Has to do with consciousness. Has to do with our consciousness, the military's consciousness, the community consciousness. It's a really, really big deal. So it's up to you, inside of you now. You can be passive, pacify yourself with electronic digital incoming input just to provide, entertainment, and tune out and become this close to an artificial intelligence robot, or even become an artificial intelligence robot, wanting only what you're taught to want, thinking only what you're thought to think. If you can't think outside the box, you'll never learn anything. Never learn anything that someone doesn't want you to know. It's pretty easy in electronic media. Now, there's a group that are working with off-planet brothers and sisters very directly that are civilians. I suspect every one of them is true and honest to the best of my knowledge. Includes Simon Parks, Mr. Dan Willis, Elena Danan, and my mentor, Sylvia Browne. They're all saying the same message from their own perspective, and that is, we need to elevate consciousness, not judge ourselves and not judge others. Recognize that greed and ego go together. And at the same time, every one of us eventually learns that you can't buy happiness. You can buy comfort, but you can't buy happiness. But these individuals that I mentioned, Elena, Dan, Simon, Sylvia, the information that they present is designed for each of us now at our grassroots level to go within, use guided visualizations, you construct them yourself, and close yourself with the white light of the Holy Spirit. And this is the critical strategic component where, behind enemy lines, each of us reaches up, does something different. And that's when your spirit guides, your higher loving entities will come and make themselves known to you, gradually and subtly, not to frighten you, just so that you know that spiritually you're not alone, and they're here to help us. Each of us are here to help us. Each of these people are exactly what we need right now, because they're sharing the thought forms, the concepts, the morphic resonances for the right reasons that you will resonate with. It's really exactly what you need in this type of video dimension. When Dan speaks about and shares his information, when Elena shares her wealth of information, when Simon shares his wealth of information, it's on the other side of the 3D matrix, making changes with our higher brothers and sisters that are helping form the universe that we perceive and live in each day. We need to have a goal where it's going. May I suggest, 1996, when I went to heaven, what I learned was that I asked the question, what's going to happen to the United States? The entity David. On the other side, a gentleman in column of light responded that the United States was going to have infrastructure demise, and that as a result of disrepair and gradual demise and lack of responsibility, the functioning government in Washington, D.C. will no longer be trusted because nothing ever gets done correctly. Nothing. So nobody trusts them. And at that point, even if they started doing things correctly, nobody still trusts them. So it's kind of like, that's where it is right now, today. And I said, well, what's going to happen? And in 1996, David said, Jesse Ventura is going to form a new government based on the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and states' rights. And that will occur because there's going to be a breakdown in basic necessities and distribution of basic necessities. And the governors are going to use their own national state guards to take control of their jurisdictions. And some governors are going to, and some governors aren't. And some governors are going to form a new government under the direction of Jesse Ventura. And that's what is going to happen, I suspect. I've been saying that for more than 20 years. Now that is a solution. That is a solution. Just pointing out, he's kind of laying low right now. You don't hear him in the news. Now, a while back, he announced he was going to run for president. That information was out for like 4 days and the place went nuts. So consider including Jesse Ventura and all the individuals who reside in the United States and can cooperate in a unity way with everyone else in my prayers. You and all your loved ones are always in my prayers.